I need air, or space, or perhaps just distance from that book and this room. I close the ledger, set the photograph aside, and tell myself it's time to move on. Another room, another list. The kitchen seems a reasonable next step, practical, unremarkable. I expect dust, maybe a few long-spoiled ingredients, the usual signs of neglect. But the moment I step through the doorway, the air changes. Everything here is in order. Not tidy by chance, but by design, a precision so deliberate it borders on ritual. The counters are bare save for a thin film of dust. The kettle sits on the stove, angled just so, as if awaiting its next use. 2 teacups rest on the shelf above, their handles turned at identical angles. Even the knives are clean, not recently, but perfectly, as though they were dried carefully and returned to their place. The wooden cutting board beneath them is unscarred. I open the pantry expecting decay. Instead, I find row upon row of jars and tins, each labelled in the same neat, narrow hand. Thyme, angelica root, lacewing flies. Dates carefully inscribed, the contents well preserved. Many are still within use, still good, if one were inclined to brew. Note: kitchen, condition exceptional. Supplies meticulously organised, perishables preserved. Evidence of precise domestic habits. No signs of neglect or misuse. I pause, quill poised. Domestic habits. The phrase feels absurd applied to him. And yet, the order here is unmistakable. Not comfort, not warmth, but control. Every object precisely where it should be, as though their arrangement could hold the chaos at bay. A clock ticks softly from somewhere I can't see. The sound is startling in the quiet, too human, too alive. I picture him here, not the dour student I recalled, or the man whispered about in The Prophet, but simply a solitary figure pouring tea, counting the minutes before returning to his work. I push the thought aside before it can settle. The file in my hand is heavy again, grounding me in its facts. Continue inspection. I move toward a narrow cabinet beside the pantry, its door slightly ajar. Inside, a few glass bottles catch the weak light filtering through the grimy window. Most are untouched, their labels faded, but one draws my eye, elf-made wine, deep red, the colour of bruised velvet. The cork sits atop like a crown, brittle with age. I lift the bottle carefully, the liquid shifts inside, enough for perhaps a single glass. Not abandoned in haste, not spilled, not forgotten, simply left. I tilt the bottle, noting the level. Observation. Bottle of elf-made wine discovered. Unsealed but not consumed. Approximate remaining volume. 1 serving. I hesitate, quill poised over the parchment. There's something almost deliberate about it. A man known for his austerity, to own something so indulgent and yet leave it unfinished. Perhaps that too was discipline, to enjoy nothing fully, to stop just short of satisfaction. The dust along the rim suggests it's been here for months, maybe longer, a relic of self-denial, or perhaps a quiet toast that never found occasion. For reasons I can't quite name, the sight unsettles me more than the photograph did. A bottle, nearly empty, waiting for a moment that never came. I return it to its place in the cupboard and note the label's year. Condition: preserved. Contents intact. To be transferred to Department of Magical Estates. Category: personal consumables. The formality steadies me. Procedure is a comfort. So I proceed. The stairs creak beneath my feet as I climb. Dust shifts in the dim light, stirred by the draught that follows me upward. The air grows colder here, stiller, as though whatever warmth once lived in this house has long retreated below. 3 doors wait at the top of the landing, all closed. I pause, glancing at the file again. No mention of how many rooms, no floor plan, only the general directive. All personal possessions to be catalogued, secured, or destroyed. I assume the obvious: 2 bedrooms and a bath. The first door I try opens easily. It's the bathroom. Small, narrow, lit by a single window fogged with grime. Yet even here, the same strange order persists. The porcelain fixtures are spotless beneath the dust. A single towel hangs by the clawfoot tub, threadbare, thin enough that light passes through it. A bar of soap rests on the edge, cracked and dry, beside a washcloth so desiccated it looks as if it might crumble to powder at the faintest touch. Note: bath, sanitary condition acceptable, minimal personal effects, no evidence of shared use. The toothbrush catches my eye. A single solitary thing, standing upright in a chipped mug, its bristles fanned from age. It shouldn't mean anything, and yet it does. There's something about its quiet isolation that hums with a kind of melancholy, as though even the objects here have learned solitude. I open the medicine cabinet. Inside, a tin of shaving soap, a worn brush, and an old straight razor gleaming faintly in the half-light. The handle is black, the steel well maintained, sharpened recently. Not a hint of vanity in it, just function, precision. The same discipline I've seen in every corner of this house. Observation, razor, antique model, maintained, evidence of consistent care. Owner demonstrated habitual orderliness, not indulgence. I close the cabinet softly, my reflection catching in the mirror, ghosted by dust, blurred by age. For a moment, it looks as though we are both fading into the walls. The silence presses in again, unbroken, almost reverent. He lived like this, surrounded by things, yet untouched by them. A life so carefully measured, it left no room for comfort. I step back into the hallway. 2 doors remain. The door across from the bathroom opens with a reluctant sigh. Wood protesting after years of stillness. Dust motes float in the stale air. It's the master bedroom. At first glance, it appears almost untouched. The kind of room you'd expect to find in a museum rather than a home. The furniture is dated, heavy, the curtains drawn tight. There's no indentation on the bedspread, no sign anyone has slept here in decades. Note: master bedroom. Furnishings intact. Evidence suggests disuse. No personal items belonging to the deceased. I glance back to the file, scanning the brief notes again. There, in a cramped section of the biography, property ownership transferred from Eileen Prince, Witch, deceased 1986, and Tobias Snape, Muggle, deceased 1985, to Severus Snape, sole heir. So this was their room. His parents. It explains the dated wallpaper, the floral pattern faded into ghostly outlines. The mirror on the vanity, clouded and fractured at one corner. I find myself imagining his mother seated there, her reflection split down the middle. He never moved in, never claimed the space. It's odd at first, all that room, the largest in the house, left to decay. But the longer I stand here, the clearer I understand why. A photograph lies face down on the dresser. I turn it over carefully. The glass in the frame is cracked, spider webbing across the image. Beneath it, a young boy stares out from the past. Black hair too long, dark eyes watchful, solemn. There's a shadow of pride in his expression, as though he had learned early not to show fear. The corner of the frame is dented, as though it once met the wall with force. I look up, and the evidence is there, a hole in the plaster, roughly the size of a man's fist. The wallpaper around it has yellowed and curled, but the damage itself feels recent in spirit, as though the memory of it still lingers in the air. No wonder he avoided this place. It's not a room, it's a scar. I close the folder, the official language of property and inventory feeling suddenly hollow. There are no fields on the form for grief, no column for pain carried quietly through decades. He left this room behind. The last door creaks open, smaller, less formal than the others. It's his bedroom, small, sparse, few furnishings. A single bed against the wall, sheets thin, threadbare, tucked with near-military precision. No comfort beyond necessity. Observation. Bedroom minimal. Bedding well kept, aged. No evidence of indulgence. Personal space strictly functional. I run a finger over the sheets, resisting the urge to smooth them. What would he have considered a luxury? A heavier blanket, a plump pillow, a mattress that yielded instead of stiffened. The closet holds 2 sets of his robes, hung neatly. I can't help but inhale faintly. The scent of him lingers, subtle and dry, a mix of incense and iron. It's almost intimate, though I remind myself it is merely a remnant, a trace. I step back, surveying the room. It is clean, disciplined, efficient. All the marks of a life lived in strict order, under constant restraint. And yet I wonder, had he ever found companionship? Had the walls been brightened by another presence? What would this space have been? Would the blankets have been softer, the bed less solitary? Would the toothbrush in the bathroom have held company? I imagine laughter echoing here, a shared cup of tea on the counter, a book left open for 2. A small ache presses behind my ribs. The house, like the man born into it and yet never lived fully in it, is both complete and incomplete. The sum of a life lived cautiously, haunted by memories and never allowed warmth. Note: personal bedroom, minimalistic, evidence of disciplined lifestyle. Emotional or sentimental artifacts absent, though traces of inhabitants' presence remain. Scent of clothing. Room serves primarily functional purpose. I close the door gently behind me, leaving the last room as I found it. Silent, still, and almost unbearably private. I return to the ground floor, the weight of the house settling over me like the dust on the shelves. The rooms I've passed through, the things I've catalogued, all speak of him, yet none of them speak to what it means to live. Could one call this living? A house meticulously preserved, a life disciplined to the point of severity, comforts abandoned or denied. How could anyone exist within such restraint? I uncork the elf-made wine, the faint pop echoing softly in the still air. The liquid gleams darkly in the glass, and I take it slowly, deliberately, as though it's both tribute and permission. I sink into his armchair, the fabric worn but welcoming beneath me. The weight of it is oddly familiar, the angle of the seat, the armrests worn smooth where his hands must have rested 1,000 times. The book of Muggle poems lies beside me. I open it again to the marked passage, the photograph still tucked between the pages. Tears, idle tears, I know not what they mean. I read the lines softly, letting them roll over me. The words, the room, the faint, lingering scent of him. A catalogue of ingredients that converges into a strange clarity, as if the house itself invites me to stay. I feel my own pulse quiet, the edges of my professional detachment dissolving. I am here. I am in this space. I am the solitary occupant of his world, tracing the boundaries of a life that was both precise and painfully incomplete. The glass tilts in my hand. I take another sip, and the taste, bitter, dark, restrained, lingers like a truth I cannot put into words. I close my eyes for a moment. The air hums with absence and memory. The walls seem to breathe, to pulse, to wait. And in that silence, I understand. I am losing myself here, step by step, note by note, shadow by shadow. Perhaps that is the only way to truly know him.